As World War I was ending, another kind of war was happening inside the United States. This time around, there were no trenches, no bombs falling from the sky. This war was built on fear. Americans were told that spies were everywhere, that foreign agents were hiding in plain sight, that the real enemy might be living next door. Because of that fear, the US government launched one of the largest intelligence operations in its history. Hundreds of thousands of civilians were quietly recruited as informants. They were placed inside factories, churches, labor unions, political groups, and community organizations, almost everywhere. And among the spies was someone nobody would suspect: a respected black military musician, a man trusted across the country, a man welcomed inside black communities. The government sent him to investigate black organizations they believed were radical or dangerous. But what he found was not what they expected. This is the story of Walter Howard Loving. Was he a traitor? Or was he trying to protect his people from something worse? For most of his life, Walter Loving was known as a musician, not a spy. He was a talented band leader, a composer, and a disciplined military professional. His reputation was built on excellence. For decades, that was all people knew about him. It was not until 1986, more than 60 years later, that government records revealed the truth. During the World War I, the US Military Intelligence Division had recruited Loving to spy on black Americans. Officials feared that black communities might be influenced by Germany or by socialist movements. They worried that racial unrest could weaken the country from within. There was no solid proof of this threat, but there was anxiety. The Military Intelligence Division had a problem. It was mostly white, and America at that time was deeply segregated. White agents could not walk freely through black neighborhoods without attracting attention. Surveillance would be obvious. They needed someone who could move quietly. Walter Loving had already shown he could operate in different racial environments. In 1902, he was sent to the Philippines after the United States took control of the island from Spain. He became the conductor of the Philippine Constabulary Band and served there for 14 years. The Philippines were tense. There was resistance to American rule, there was violence, there was racial hierarchy. But Loving earned respect. He learned the language. He treated his Filipino musicians with dignity. He built trust through music, not force. His ability to connect across cultures did not go unnoticed. One of his superiors there was Rav Van Diemen, who later became head of military intelligence. Years later, Van Diemen brought Loving back for a new mission. This time, the target was Black America. By 1917, racial violence against Black Americans was widespread. Lynching was common. Segregation was law. White supremacist terror shaped daily life. In East St. Louis, white mobs killed at least 100 black residents and forced thousands from their homes. At the same time, nearly 200,000 black soldiers were preparing to return from Europe after fighting in the war. Many had risked their lives for democracy. Many were no longer willing to accept injustice at home. To military officials, this looked dangerous. They feared anger could turn into rebellion. So, Loving was sent to observe, to report, to quietly build a network of informants within black communities. It sounds impossible that one of the most respected black musicians in the country could also be a spy, but his fame helped him. People trusted him. Doors opened easily. When he needed secrecy, he used discreet contacts. When he needed visibility, his public reputation gave him access to leaders and meetings that white agents could never enter. In 1918, when the National Race Congress met, Loving attended as a respected band leader. But after the meeting, he wrote to the State Department asking that passports be denied to speakers planning to expose American racial violence at the Paris Peace Conference. He could influence events quietly. Military intelligence saw black newspaper editors and socialist leaders as serious threats. Figures like Philip Randolph and Chandler Owen, who published The Messenger, openly criticized injustice. One of their lines said, "Patriotism has no appeal to us. Justice has." Today, that might sound normal. In 1917, it was explosive. This was the period of the first Red Scare. After the Russian Revolution, socialism was seen as a major threat. Authorities feared similar movements could grow in the United States. Loving met some of these leaders directly. He warned them about the consequences of their words. At the same time, he advised black newspaper editors on how to avoid having their papers banned, even when he disagreed with them. Still, Randolph and Owen were arrested under the Espionage Act. Loving walked a difficult line. In a 1917 memo, he wrote that he was loyal to his race, but not to the point that he would risk American soldiers' life in wartime. He believed balance was necessary. He was a son of formerly enslaved parents in Virginia. He understood injustice deeply. Yet, even in military intelligence, he faced discrimination. His office was kept separate from white colleagues. Still, he believed his position could reduce harm. After black soldiers in Houston rebelled against police abuse in 1917, 13 were quickly executed by the army. Fearing more violence, Loving intervened before a major rally. He urged a speaker to calm tensions rather than inflame them. The rally ended with the crowd singing the Star-Spangled Banner. Behind the scenes, Loving built quiet partnerships. He influenced speeches. He helped shape messaging. Military intelligence even funded certain travel efforts. But he was not blind. After the Red Summer of 1919, when racial violence exploded in more than 30 cities, Loving's tone changed. In his final report, he warned that unless the government made serious changes in how it treated black citizens, many would turn to socialism, not because they hated America, but because they were desperate. He criticized housing segregation. He criticized the government for failing to protect black communities. He pointed out that wounded black soldiers were returning home only to face segregation and humiliation. And after years of investigation, his conclusion was clear. Not a single black American had been found spying for the enemy. Whether Loving expected that result, we do not know. But he understood one thing clearly. If black Americans were labeled disloyal as a group, the consequences would be severe. So, he used the power he had. After retiring, he returned to the Philippines and continued his work as a bandleader. He later died during the Battle of Manila in World War II. His legacy is complicated. When we hear the word spy, we want to simply answer hero or traitor. But history is rarely simple. Sometimes survival inside an unjust system requires working within it, bending it where you can, reducing harm where possible. Walter Loving lived in that gray area. So, what do you think? Was he protecting the government or protecting his people? Share your thoughts in the comments.